Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are diving into something absolutely monumental. Looking at recent announcements, like what we just saw at Google I/O 26, it is becoming pretty clear that we're entering the biggest transitionary period the internet has seen since the massive rise of social media. The fundamental way we interact with information is literally shifting right under our feet. So today, we're going to break down exactly what that means for all of us. So let's just get right to the big question, shall we? Are we actually witnessing the end of search? Now, I want to be super clear right off the bat. This isn't some wild conspiracy theory about the web shutting down tomorrow. No, we're going to take a really practical, structured look at how our internet habits and the giant platforms that support them are fundamentally changing. Because the reality is, the tech giants, they aren't even really talking about traditional search anymore.
Part 1. The End of Traditional Search.
To understand exactly where we're going, we kind of have to look at what's being left behind. For the last 20 years, the internet operated on a very simple, predictable model. But traditional search broke. Why? Because it just became totally overwhelmed. We've all felt it, right? You search for a simple weeknight recipe or a quick product review, and you suddenly have to dig through super aggressive monetization, relentless SEO gaming, articles stuffed with keywords, and these massive, endless content farms. We basically ended up with an internet flooded with low-value content designed strictly to please search algorithms, rather than to actually help human beings. And this damaged the user experience so heavily that a technological evolution wasn't just possible, it was absolutely necessary.
Because of that frustration, there's a core difference between the web we knew and the web we're entering right now. The old way, it was all about exploration. You searched, you got a big list of links, and you clicked around to explore various websites. And those websites earned traffic, ad revenue, and brand awareness along the way. But the new way is completely different. Now you search, you ask an AI agent, and you get a direct, highly compressed short answer. You don't explore anymore. The AI basically does all the exploring for you and just hands you the final product.
Section 2, the AI-mediated internet. Once you remove that exploration phase from the user experience, the platform itself takes on a radically new role. It's no longer just a neutral directory. It becomes the ultimate recommender, filter, and summarizer. And that leads to a dramatic shift, perfectly represented by the number 1. See, instead of getting 10 competing links filled with different perspectives, detailed reviews, and totally varied opinions, you're increasingly going to get just one curated direction or one single summarized answer. AI compresses all that visibility down to a single point of authority.
Which naturally forces us to ask a really provocative question. How do you actually trust AI-generated recommendations, especially when there's buyer intent involved? Say you want to buy the best laptop or, more importantly, the safest car seat. Getting one single answer is incredibly dangerous if you don't know exactly how that AI arrived at its conclusion.
And we have to remember a critical fact here. These tech giants are not neutral public services. Their business models are still heavily tied to advertising revenue and lucrative commercial partnerships. So, if an AI tells you a specific product is the quote-unquote best, how do we know it's genuinely the best answer for you and not simply the answer that best aligns with the platform's own commercial incentives?
Section 3. The Creator Economy Collapse.
Now, this massive shift in how we search doesn't just affect us as users, it has devastating economic fallout for the very people who make the internet a valuable place to visit in the first place. It fundamentally breaks the fragile balance that built the modern web.
For decades, there was this unspoken historical exchange. Step one, creators spent hours researching, writing, and filming valuable content. Step two, search engines indexed that content and, in return, sent attention, traffic, and revenue straight back to those creators. That discoverability funded entire business models. But as this quote points out so perfectly, that historical exchange is breaking. If an AI platform reads a creator's in-depth article, summarizes the key points, and serves it directly to the user, well, the platform extracts all the value of that human's hard work without ever sending the visitor back to their website. When AI essentially removes the creator from the equation, the financial incentive to make free public content just dies. So, how are creators going to react to this? We don't even have to guess because we're already seeing the behavioral changes. Creators are increasingly moving their best work behind paywalls. They're focusing on private communities and newsletters. They're reducing what they share publicly on the open web. Or, even stranger, they'll start creating highly structured content specifically designed for AI visibility, rather than actual human usefulness. And as a result, the open web is going to shrink drastically.
Section 4, the dead internet theory.
What used to sound like an extreme fringe internet conspiracy is rapidly escalating into a practical everyday reality. The dead internet theory is basically the idea that the internet gradually becomes completely filled with AI-generated content, which is then consumed by other AI systems, which are then used to train future AI systems. And the scary part, we are literally seeing the early stages of this right now. AI-generated articles, reviews, images, and videos are flooding the web, and most of it exists primarily to please algorithms, not human beings. It creates this terrifying, recursive loop. Think about it. AI generates the content, AI consumes that content to answer user queries, and then future AI models train on that newly generated content. It creates an absolute flood of just good enough commodity information. And as this loop tightens, it leads to massive informational decay, totally devaluing the entirety of the web. Section 5, losing our human messiness. Now, this recursive loop doesn't just lower the quality of the articles we read, it actually presents an existential threat to how human beings innovate. There is a stark contrast here. AI optimization is all about finding the safe, probable, statistically likely answer. It's incredibly clinically efficient. But human thinking, it's messy, it's random, we experiment, we challenge long-held assumptions, and we find completely bizarre workarounds. Human innovation relies so heavily on combining totally unrelated ideas to find edge cases that an AI would just mathematically filter right out. I mean, think about the last time you were trying to solve a really highly specific problem. Sometimes the most valuable thing you found wasn't the statistically correct answer from some major publisher. No, it was a weird forum thread from 2011, an obscure blog post, or a failed experiment documented by some random hobbyist. The historical open web allowed for that kind of intellectual randomness. If an AI layer sits between us and all that information, we completely lose the magic of that random exploration. Finally, Section 6. The future of information. We really need to weigh the undeniable benefits of this technology against the massive systemic risks it poses to our entire digital ecosystem. Platforms are facing a critical balancing act right now. On one side, users absolutely want speed, simplicity, and direct answers. And AI search is incredibly convenient for that, for sure. But on the flip side, creators desperately need visibility, financial incentive, and sustainability. If the platform prioritizes the user so heavily that the creator's side just collapses, well, the AI systems will eventually run out of original human thought, real experience, and true experimentation to actually train on. Because of this, we are going to see a massive, growing divide online. On one side, there's going to be this infinite ocean of AI commodity content. But hey, there is a silver lining here, because that commodity content is going to be absolutely everywhere. Authentic human perspective, real-world expertise, and genuine personality will actually become the most valuable and rare commodities left on the entire internet.
But as we look at this whole transition, we have to remember one vital reality. User behavior changes faster than technology. People are already getting very comfortable just asking AI for an instant answer instead of bothering to browse through 10 different websites. And once that convenience takes hold, the habit shift becomes permanent. The relationship between humans, knowledge, and platforms has already changed. Which leaves us with this final, truly provocative thought to ponder today. As this transition fully takes hold over the coming years, does the internet become drastically more efficient but inherently less creative? It's a huge question and one that's going to define the future of human knowledge over the next decade. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to keep questioning how you interact with the information right in front of you. Catch you next time.